Hi, my name is Sarah. Welcome back to my channel. Today I'm in a bit of a different location. It's a really lovely cabin in Drummond near Loch Lomond. I'm here for a couple of days just as a little birthday celebration. I'd planned to do a lot of walking along the West Highland Way, but yeah, I've been really sick, so I'm mostly just resting. It's a really lovely cabin. I'll show you the tour maybe in a second that I took sort of before I just came in and dumped all my stuff everywhere. Now it's a bit of a mess, but it's still really pretty. It's basically like there's no one else around. It's Arcadia Glamping, it's called. Really easy to get to by public transport. I got the train and then a bus and just walked the last 20 minutes and it was absolutely fine. Really lovely location. I've seen so many like lovely birds and there was a huge pheasant sort of just walking along by the burn, so when you look over the balcony you can see like the burn and just hear all the birds. Held a little toad in my hand as he fell in the outdoor bath, and I had to help him out, but he just was just happily chilling in my hand. No fear whatsoever. Saw a red squirrel, that was really cute. So yeah, it's been really nice, and while I've been here I've been doing quite a bit of reading. There is no Wi-Fi and no phone signal at all. It's actually a little bit sad for me, I guess, because I have a little boy at home. I come by myself, and my little boy is at home with his dad, and yeah, I haven't really been able to speak to them all that much. I'm just like when I go into the village and things, I'm getting a chance to message my husband and check everything's okay, but yeah, that's a little bit sad, but it is really nice just to be completely in the middle of nowhere with no one else around. Just having the lights lit at night, getting in the bath, loads of candles on. It's just, yeah, it's so cozy. So yeah, I've been doing lots of reading. The thing I've been reading the most, I think, is The Things We Do to Our Friends by Darwent. This is a psychological thriller. I hate this cover. I hate it so much. There's nothing like objectively wrong with it. It's just aggressively not my vibe at all. I hate these colours. It's the kind of cover that I look at and feel like I'm getting a headache. I wouldn't have picked this up if I'd just seen it in the shop based on the cover, but I'd heard really good things about it. It's, like I said, a psychological thriller, dark academia-esque story. We're following a girl called Claire. It's set in the year 2005 and she's just moved to Edinburgh Uni. She doesn't really fit in and she's sort of fallen in with this very strange group of very posh, affluent girls who are doing something that's a little bit sinister. We're just really feeling the sinister vibes. Claire has a bit of a I guess a hidden past. We open the story, it's opened in France and it follows 3 girls who sort of feed a man to death, so like that scene in Seven. It's like that, and I almost put it down because if it involves things like that and like choking, it makes me panic. I just hate it. I hate reading about it so much. Terrified of choking and terrified of other people choking as well, so that wasn't great. But that was just the one chapter and then it sort of moved on from there. We don't really know who the girls were at first, and then we kind of find out a little bit. I'm only about halfway through so far. Forgot my bookmark, so using a pen. And yeah, I like the way it's set in Edinburgh. Has some really lovely, well not lovely, just some good descriptions of Edinburgh. The sort of one of the very first things she discusses when she moves there is, she says how grey the old town was. It was magnificent, but there was an underlying sense of squalor below it all. Steps led to alleys weaving with possibility, where you could just as easily find a grand square as you could a dead end and a seagull gnawing on scraps of cold chips. And I just think, yeah, it was such a good description of Edinburgh. I feel like Heather Darwent really brings Edinburgh to life. I like the way it's set in 2005. This was like kind of the era that I started uni and sort of moved out of my family home, so yeah, just like it a lot. It gets really bad reviews on Goodreads. People are saying the second half is really bad. I haven't reached the part that gets really bad yet, and yeah, it's keeping me intrigued. There's lots of suspense. One thing I hate, is not the fault of the book at all, but like at the start of the chapter it's on like this page and there's nothing on this side, and it's like that on every one, so there's like just dead space, and I don't know if there's a reason for that. I haven't figured out if that's like, if there's a justification for doing that, or if it's just a really annoying stylistic choice. Yeah, it's making me annoyed every time I open it, but that's not the fault of the book. That's just like formatting of it. But yeah, really enjoying it so far, and I'll let you know my thoughts once I finished it. On the train here I started listening to A Haunting in the Arctic by CJ Cooke, and yeah, I got about an hour through. It's very typical CJ Cooke in that we're following a dual timeline. It's a historical novel sort of interwoven with the present, so we're following Nikki in the early 20th century. Her husband has just gone off to fight in the Boer War, and her father runs a shipping company in Dundee. He's not a very nice guy, and she's sort of just realising sort of how bad the conditions are for the people he employs, and how he sort of like brags about that. But anyway, the company folds, or is about to fold, and he tells her stay out of sight, and she doesn't know why. She doesn't stay out of sight, and then she gets kidnapped and ends up on this old ship that's heading for Iceland, I think, or like somewhere in the Arctic anyway. And that's as far as I've got with her timeline. There's a really graphic rape scene in there that you may want to avoid. It just kind of came out of nowhere and is a bit like, oh, okay. So there's that, and then the other timeline is a woman called Dominique in the present day, who is going to this ship that Nikki was on. It's now a wreck in Iceland and it's about to be sort of demolished, and she's going to explore it and film it for her like Instagram followers, and then while she's there she meets some other people who are also exploring, and they're a little bit maybe sinister. It's very ghostly, there's lots of like spooky goings on, and yeah, it's just very typical CJ Cooke. The vibes are there. The storylines aren't particularly intriguing to me. I'm not sort of very heavily invested so far, but I'm only about an hour through. But I love CJ Cooke's writing. I think she does a really good job of creating atmosphere. I think that's really her forte. It's very spooky and sinister and gothic, and I just love that kind of writing, so looking forward to listening to a little bit more of that. I was really stupid and didn't download it before I came here, because I was just like streaming it over Everand, and then now I'm here, there's no internet, so I can't like listen to it at the moment, so that's why I haven't listened to it anymore. It's not because I haven't enjoyed it. And I'm also about 50 pages through Elatsoe, and this is okay. I think I might DNF it. It's a YA following a girl called Elatsoe Ellie. She is an Apache girl. She's 17. I'd say she reads quite young, but I don't think that's necessarily a bad thing. I've seen a lot of people criticise that, and I think, yeah, she does seem quite young for 17, but I don't know whether that's just like because I am a long way from being 17, so I don't know if I'm just sort of underestimating sort of how childish 17-year-olds are, or if she is just like a very young character. I think either way it's nice to read a character who's still a child, and is reading very much like a child. I think her character's great. Really love her, and her mum and dad are so loving and supportive. I haven't told you what it's about. Basically, it's a girl called Ellie. Like I said, she's an Apache. She's living in the US and Texas, but it's a world that's like resembles our own, but there's like a fantasy element to it. So she can raise people from the dead. She chooses not to do that because it's quite dangerous, and instead she sort of raises animals from the dead, and her canine companion is a ghost dog. And her cousin dies in what looks like a car crash, but he appears to her in a dream or a vision, and says that you know, I wasn't in a car crash, I was murdered. This is the guy who murdered me, and you need to prove that to everybody, basically. And so she sets out to do that, and there's lots of Apache myth and legend sort of woven into it, and yeah, it's really beautifully written. There's objectively nothing wrong with it. I just think I'm maybe not the target for it. I tend not to enjoy fantasy where the world sort of resembles our own but has like some sort of like fantastical element. I tend to prefer fantasy to be like a completely separate fantasy world that's not attached to our reality at all. Not all the time, but yeah, I think I'm just not really enjoying that aspect. I'm really liking sort of the story. So we follow a lot of elatsoe, or her family, sort of recounting her grandmother's life, and sort of detailing like the way she's used her powers to sort of better the world, and I'm really enjoying that part of the story. I just don't really like the bit that's set sort of like in the present day, like in our sort of like normal world. I don't know, I'm not explaining it very well. I might I might continue with it, I might not. I just don't want to push through and then end up rating it 3 stars, because I think it's a really good book, and I think I'm definitely going to be in the minority of people who don't sort of gel with it, and I don't think it's fair to push through something I'm not really enjoying only to give it a kind of low rating when I could just be like, actually that's really good but it's not for me, and just DNF it. So yeah, I'll see how it goes, see how much I get rid of this one. I might need to read elatsoe because I might run out of things to read. We'll see. So yeah, now I'm gonna go and sit on the patio and watch the squirrels and do my knitting. Just give you a little tour of the tiny cabin that I'm staying in. It's so cute. It's a bed. I've already just trashed it with my own stuff, but it came with a really cute little hamper with like marshmallows and things, and a bottle of prosecco. I'm here by myself, so I will ration that. Yeah, the bed, and then in here there's a really cute bathroom. The toilet scares me. It's a composting toilet that doesn't use water, so yeah, and a little shower area. Yeah, that's the bathroom, and a tiny little kitchen that I've definitely trashed by bringing my own stuff for cooking later. Out here it's so beautiful. There's just a cute little table and the burn that you can hear down there, and then over here the best part is this little outdoor bath. I'm so excited to get into that bath later. It's gonna be so nice. Yeah, oh, it's just so pretty. There's a little fire as well, so yeah, maybe I'll be brave enough to light that later, but yeah, that's the cabin. So yeah, I'll show you while it's in its most presentable state, because I'm not a tidy person. So yeah, I'm gonna brew my coffee, sit outside and read my book for a bit. tomorrow. And yeah, I haven't picked up the camera since I got back from a little holiday away. I've been really quite unwell. I'm gonna talk about it, I think, in another video which may go up before or after this, I'm not sure. But yeah, it's been a really difficult couple of weeks, but I feel like I'm like starting to come out of it now. So yeah, I thought I'd update you because I did actually finish the 2 books that I read or started reading while I was away. I did DNF elatsoe in the end, and haven't really felt like compelled to go back to it at all. Maybe I will in the future, but I think it's probably just one of those books that just isn't quite for me, and that's fine. I have nothing at all negative to say about it other than I just wasn't gelling with it. I did finish Things We Do to Our Friends by Darwent. I ended up really enjoying this. I think I gave it a 3.5 or a 4 star, I can't remember. I did enjoy the first half of it a lot more than the second half, I would say. I think it kind of lost me a little bit towards the end. It got maybe a bit too ridiculous. In particular, like one thing that happens was a bit like, I don't think we needed that. I think we could have gone in a different direction, but yeah, anyway, I won't tell you what that is because I don't want to spoil it, but yeah, it lost me a little bit. I think the writing is really good. I have like nothing negative at all to say about the writing. I thought it was really atmospheric, really almost decadent writing, I suppose. It was very rich and it really brought Edinburgh to life, like, and not necessarily in a good way. I think that's what I really liked about it, is that we see Edinburgh as this, like, I guess just not like, you know how tourists picture it, of just being all these like beautiful like monuments, and just how tourists in general picture Scotland to be like amazingly gorgeous and picturesque and scenic, and it is, but there are also like, there's sort of a definite darker side to Scotland and to Edinburgh as well. And I think, yeah, this captured it really well. It didn't romanticize Edinburgh, and I really appreciated that. I also appreciated the way the narrative was very choppy. So although we did kind of feel anchored in Edinburgh, and it definitely felt like Edinburgh was, it didn't feel like the author was just using Edinburgh just for the sake of it. I felt like it really had a place and added to the story, and it definitely felt like we were there a lot of the time, but it's also like very choppy in that it goes from kind of like place to place within Edinburgh, and also a little bit to like the northeast of England and to France as well. And I feel like we can never really grasp kind of not where we are, just I feel like the narrative kind of slips through our fingers a little bit, I think. It feels a bit kind of fever dream-ish, but not surreal. I think I've done a bad job of explaining that, but yeah, I really liked that aspect about it. I'm not sure if I've said yet, because it's been a while since I filmed, this gives me How to Get Away with Murder vibes, the TV show. I have no real justification for that. It just, like, that's the vibes that it gave me. It's not really similar in terms of the story, really. But yeah, it just reminded me of that. And that TV show also has a similar problem to this book, and it's really engaging and compelling for I think the first 2 seasons, and then it sort of gets a little bit trashy and ridiculous and then like drives right off the cliff for the last few seasons. I stopped watching it at about season 4, I think, but yeah, it really reminded me of that. I think if you like The Secret History, I think you would maybe like this. definitely if you like Bunny by Mona Awad, it's very similar to that, I think, in terms of like a very enigmatic, sinister, toxic friendship group. It's not quite as graphic as Bunny, but it is still pretty graphic. Like I said, there are scenes of force feeding which were just so grim, so grim, just like literally like the worst thing I think for me to read about. Just horrendous, but yeah, I really like this. I would definitely recommend it. I also finished listening to Haunting in the Arctic by CJ Cooke, and this one definitely isn't my favourite CJ Cooke. I thought it was okay. Like I said, we have a dual timeline that's very sort of typical of CJ Cooke, I would say. We're following a woman in the present day, Dominique, I think her name is. Yeah, Dominique, who's exploring sort of the wreck of a ship in Iceland that's about to be sort of removed and destroyed, and she's sort of documenting it to her followers on like TikTok and stuff. And she just runs into some other explorers in the ship, and it's just very sinister and ghostly, and they seem to be convinced that she is like a witch or something, and they're just like, oh, you know what you did, and she's just like, why are they being so hostile towards me one minute and then they're just like absolutely fine the next. And in the other timeline we're following a character called Nikki at the start of the 20th century, I think, is like the early 1900s, who she's the daughter of a man who owns a shipping company, a really not very pleasant guy, who ends up running into some debt, and he tells her like, make sure you like hide away, and she doesn't, and then ends up getting captured and taken aboard one of his ships that's like going to I think, is it Svalbard, I think, and she is treated really appallingly on the ship. There is just relentless rape and sexual assault that's very unpleasant to read, and definitely one that I would not pick up if you find those topics particularly difficult to handle. They're really grim, but yeah, that's the main premise. The conclusion that it reached I thought was really predictable and obvious, and I was just like, yeah, like, were we not supposed to have known that all along? Like the twist was just really, just didn't seem like a twist in my mind. I thought the twist was going to be that it was something else and not that, because we were kind of led to believe that this thing was happening, and then it was just like, oh, this thing happened, and it's just like, yeah, I know. So yeah, I didn't like that. I thought the ending was really just quite twee, I suppose. The exploration of female trauma was very tropey and just nothing that hasn't been done before. And yeah, I just didn't care for it really in the same way that I've cared for the others that I've read. It was definitely the least compelling of her books in terms of plot, I would say, which is weird because I thought I would really enjoy like the Arctic setting, but it just, like, being aboard the ship, I just didn't find it particularly interesting, I guess. So I'm glad I read it, and I definitely will continue to read CJ Cooke. I think she's a really good writer. I just, yeah, find her very hit and miss, I think. So yeah, unfortunately this leaned more onto the miss side for me. I did find it a little bit boring. All the action sort of kind of happens in the last maybe like 20%, and yeah, I really saw where it was going and what the author was trying to do, and it just didn't have much of an impact on me. Didn't really have any emotional impact. It wasn't really connected to the characters, even though like awful things are happening to them. I just like didn't have that yeah, connection with them, so it's a shame. But yeah, they're the two books that I've read. I'm gonna end the vlog here because I've been rambling now for a while, and I also have very limited energy still, so thank you very much for watching as always. If you would like to let me know that you got this far in the vlog but you don't know what to comment, you could leave an emoji, maybe like a flower emoji, because it's a really lovely springy day today, and it's finally warm and sunny for I think the first day so far this year in Scotland at least. So yeah, thank you very much for watching, and I will see you again soon. Bye.